Hello, everyone. You're watching SK Live. I'm your host, Indrajit Basu. Today we have Mr. Monty Panesar with us. Monty, good to see you. How have you been doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm doing very good. I think this new variant in England, which has kind of started from Kent, has put the whole sort of country in a bit of a lockdown for the last, 4 weeks. So we're hoping that, we can come over it, over this COVID problem, and with the new vaccines that's been introduced in England, hopefully, this is the last of the lockdown.
And it must be really tough, for someone who is so active like you. You've of course retired, but you have a very, very active social life. Like all of us, it must be very challenging for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting times actually. I think there's a lot of people here who are kind of like beginning to get frustrated, with possibly, I don't know, the government or maybe the rules and the regulations. Some are saying, why don't we close the borders in the second lockdown? It's beginning to, I think, impact some people's sort of mental health, and having a good structure to your day, doing daily exercise that I do, then sort of mind sort of stimulation sort of activities to keep the mind occupied. And I think I'm quite fortunate at the moment. I'm studying a master's in international sports journalism at St Mary's University. So that's keeping me busy. But
Okay.
there's a lot of people out there, who want to just get back to normality now.
Why sports journalism? I mean,
Yeah, well, I think what I want to do is, after I've finish playing cricket, hopefully go have a media career, media presenting, broadcasting. So I'm a big fan of Big Boss. I'm sure you guys, watch it in India with passion. So there's some Indian connections that I do have. I love the country, and who knows, maybe I can work in India at some point.
I remember meeting a lot of these former English pacers, Angus Fraser, Derek Pringle. They used to cover those matches in 2000, early 2000. They still do, I guess. Did they inspire you at any point of time?
Well, I think my inspiration was the likes of Graham Gooch.
Okay.
Also, like David Galway. It's funny I talk about batsmen, but I never became a batsman. I ended up becoming a spinner, and then it was Bishan Bedi, and it was a book, MCC book by Tony Lewis, that I've started to follow Bishan Bedi. So if anybody wants to have a perfect slow left arm action, please buy this book. It's got 60 images in there of Bishan Bedi's action, and you can emulate his action and actually, become like him. Well, I tried to. I kind of failed, if you ask me.
No. I always keep that dismissal of yours, the way you dismiss Sachin Tendulkar in 2000, 2012 series.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. Sorry, let me just put my.
That was perfect. One of the best deliveries I've seen from an English spinner doing that, on the field.
Yeah, English spinner. I think you should say any spinner that's come on the Indians, pitches. That's probably one of the best deliveries, in my opinion. Better than Shane Warne's delivery of the ball of the century to Mike Gatting. I remember ESPN Cricinfo only gave me I think there was a 20th best ball. I'm sure it's much higher than that, but even I was surprised. I'm sure it hit a pebble. I'm surprised. And even Sachin Baji probably were thinking, Monty, I don't think if you had to repeat that ball again to me, I don't think you would ever do it. And I'm probably right. I don't think I would ever do that again. I don't think I could. I don't know how to do that.
You bowled that delivery a little behind the stumps, right?
No, what I went for is when I, early on in my career, I remember when I was at my best, I'll bowl the ball with pace, but as you'll get close to the batsman, it will curve in. So as it's dipping, it'll curve in. And that was a sign that I got a lot of revs on the ball with pace. That was when I was bowling at my best. And, some days as a spinner, the timing is right. And it could have been any batsman. It was just, obviously Sachin Tendulkar, and and it was a great delivery. I'll take the credit while I'm here. It's a great man. It's not many people who, you get him out, you might as well make the most of it. But it was probably my best delivery I've ever bowled in Test cricket.
And then he again got him in. I think it was in 2011 at Lords when he got him I think it was a leg
Yeah,
before wicket.
2008, I think it was it was interesting. The previous ball to Dinesh Karthik turned, and I think Baji was playing for the turn, and somehow hit the pad again. Like I don't mean to do it; it just happens off the surface. Hits the leather ball and it just goes. And umpire gave it out. But actually, during that Test match, Srinath was out. We would have won the Test match. So have it, there's ups and downs, but that's Test cricket.
So you did you fall did you follow the India's performance in Australia? It was phenomenal. I mean, this is one of the biggest Test win. Experts are saying so many other things also, but this is the biggest we have seen in Test cricket.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of credit should go down to Ravi Shastri, his approach, his style. The more I hear about this guy, everyone talks about him as a great motivator. He, used to bat at number 11 when he first started playing cricket, but he was a grafter. He worked hard and made himself into a great opener for India. So he knows how to motivate people. He knows how to get the best out of people. It's like, if your mindset is, it's like overnight, switch it. Tomorrow morning we're gonna have a great day. It's not, and that's what he's about. And he's done that with so many of these youngsters coming through that I think there's a lot of credit should go to Ravi Shastri. The way he is, the mental attitude that tomorrow, switch it on, forget about what's happened today, and let's win this game of cricket.
And especially the way we in India lost the opening Test match in Adelaide, 36 all out in the second innings, and the way they came back. A lot of stories are being floated. Who did what, but of course the backroom staff, they contribute a lot to the preparation, to the mental strength of the team. And as you rightly pointed out, the motivational speeches from the coaching staff, that really matters a lot.
It does matter a lot, but I think you get the impression that they're allowed to do whatever they want when they're on the field, and that famous saying, when someone can't finish boss, he goes, do whatever you want to do, man. And I think that's what the Indian team do when they're on the field. Ajinkya Rahane gives them the responsibility. You set the field, work out the conditions of how to move this ball, get me the wickets. While you're batting, do not give your wicket away. This is the sort of steely approach, Mohammad Siraj, you look at that guy, he was moving the ball more than the Australian bowlers. And he's only played his second Test match. Yeah. How is he able to do that? Where is this high level of skill coming from when they don't even have, experience in abundance when it comes to first class cricket?
Yeah. And we have been doing a lot of you need to be complimented. BCCI needs to be complimented for sending these guys for India A tours. They've been doing a lot of they've been playing a lot of cricket away from home. That has also helped to build their confidence. But there's a raging debate here in our country today. Should Ajinkya Rahane be given the test the mantle of Test captaincy at some point? Bishan Singh Bedi, your sort of guru, has also mentioned something. He's made some bold statement. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, does it happen? Is it one series someone does well and he can just override the good work a batsman has been doing for so many years, which is Virat Kohli? Or a good captain need not be a best player. A best player need not be a good captain. What is your thought process?
Well, I think, Virat Kohli's been successful in all forms of the game. His record is still great. So I'm sure Virat Kohli wouldn't want to give up the captaincy. I'm sure there's certain records, there's certain Test matches where he probably thinks, maybe can I beat, Ricky Ponting's record, for example, of the most Test match wins, which is, I think, 31 or 33. So, I'm sure there'll be a point where he'll be thinking, have I beat all the records as a Test captain? And then after that, there's nothing else to achieve. Maybe, I hand it over to Ajinkya Rahane so I can concentrate, more on getting the runs. But it's up to him as the individual. I think he gets more out of himself as a player when he's a captain. He's able to score runs. He loves the responsibility. And look, India just have a stronger leadership group. It's interesting that people are thinking that Virat Kohli should step down, but I just think that India just have a stronger leadership group, and India should, keep Virat Kohli as captain.
But if he would have played all the 4 Test matches in Australia, do you think it would have given any different scoreline? Like what we saw is 2-1 at the end of it. Do you think it would have given us different sort of a scoreline?
It's an interesting debate, you know. I think Ajinkya Rahane, Rohit Sharma, that combination works really well. You know, when they're both given the leadership sort of situation, it'll be. I think it'll be the skill of Virat Kohli. You know, he will probably see that my team have developed. In my team, they are better leaders now. How does he manage all of them? You know, this is going to be the next part of his captaincy. You know, especially when England come to India and play, 4 Test matches in the space of 5 weeks. And he's a very much likes his dictatorship style sort of approach. And I think this time around, he'll probably have to bring in, it's a bit of like they say on the boardroom level, start listening to a few of the other people, and there may be times, during the Test matches, during the Test series, where he may have to listen to the likes of Ajinkya Rahane, like Ravi Shastri, even Rohit Sharma, but take their decisions on board, but then put them into practice by his style of captaincy.
But talking about Virat's style of captaincy, you see a lot of people in private saying something else, and in public they go and say, okay, we support Virat Kohli, the captain. But if you face of it, on the face of it, if you see his track record as an IPL captain, he's captaining for so many years, he's not taken the team anywhere. You've seen we have not won a big ICC tournament in the last 7 years, 7-8 years. Last ICC tournament was in Champions Trophy, beating England. So that was it. So there's a lot of question mark being asked. We haven't won in England. We haven't won in South Africa. We haven't won in New Zealand. We won only victory as a captain, as a Test captain, was 2018 Australia. And this time Virat wasn't there. It was Rahane who was leading the side, and he won the Test series so handsomely. So that's the reason people still have that question mark inside their head. We are not trying to undermine any cricketer of Virat's standards, but there has to be something from the management, also from the selectors. How does it work in England when you have someone?
Look, it's an interesting question you say. I think the reason the people in India are raising these issues is because they look at Mohammad Siraj. He had an opportunity to go back home. Unfortunately, his father passed away, but he won the hearts of the nation. He's won absolutely over 1.5 billion people, thinking, wow, he didn't go back. He was there for national duty, and he won this Test series. First time they've won in Gabba, in the history of Indian cricket. After 32 years in Australia have lost, Mohammad Siraj was there, and that how he's won the nation over. And I think Virat Kohli missed a trick. When in the first Test match they got bowled out for 36, I think his wife should have just said, you know what, stay there. Yes. Stay there for national duty. Your country needs you more. And because of looking at other players and how the results have gone, some of the fans are probably thinking, should Virat Kohli, his national duty should be more important, because in India it's a different culture. Paternity leave is a new thing. In England it's very common, and in New Zealand, all that. Cricket isn't a religion in this country. Football is. But in India, it's huge. I've seen the celebrations of the players and everything. It's phenomenal. So I think that Virat Kohli and his, family and his wife would have won the hearts of the nation if that decision was turned over. I reckon he would have been even more, super status that he was. But again, Ravi Shastri said it's once in a lifetime opportunity. You've got to be there for that experience, which rightly so. But he's put himself in a position now where people are questioning that if India have a questionable series, if they don't win the T20 World Cup or the World Cup in India, because they're in India, I think after that, I think Virat Kohli probably will have to step down. So he's got his captaincy is there, but he definitely needs to win one of the trophies, either the T20 or the World Cup in India.
Absolutely, and I remember the way England came in 2012 and beat India in India. Traditionally, we are very rich at home. No one can beat India, but that England team and Monty were part of that team, and England won 2-1. So can they breach? Can they break that sort of tradition again this time? Do they have the team, England?
Well, thinking about that team then, right, and comparing it to now, we had Alistair Cook, whose record is good as Matthew Hayden's in India, right? Yeah. We had Kevin Peterson, who can score quickly. If he's there for a couple of sessions or the whole day, he will take the game away.
Yeah.
Right? And we had Jonathan Trott who could bat long, Matt Pryor who was a good keeper, bat as well. We had good seamers. We had likes of Swan, myself. We had experienced campaigners. So can you see, to win in India, you need the batting to bat, but also you need the spinners to take the wickets. And I question, does England, the openers, they don't traditionally play spin that well. You look at the way they got out in goal, likes of Dominic Sibley, leaving the ball, not playing the conventional way like a subcontinent spinner. The only one who does that is probably Joe Root. He bats like a subcontinent batsman against spin. And I think that is where maybe England, could be the downfall is that some of their top order batsmen, they may not equip to the Indian style of pitches and the spin bowling and the pressure of men having around the bat. It can sometimes be a daunting prospect for top order batsmen.
And there was a lot of debate in, I remember, in 2012 when you were leading the spin attack, that spinner bowling so fast. So what was that trick all about?
The thing is, like, when me and Swan played at Northlands, we used to bowl with pace, and the ball used to turn quickly. And we used to find that, when I think I remember bowling to Mike Hussey, who was at Northlands, and he was a terrible player of spin, and he became unbelievable after he left Northlands. He was on these Perth pitches, wasn't that great, but I used to bowl to him 2-3 hours every day in the nets, and I made him into. I think I never used to get him out. He used to just hit me at all parts of the ground, and he became a phenomenal player of spin. And I think what we realized by just bowling to these great players was that they said, you got to bowl it quickly, because if you bowl it too slow, we got time to get on the back foot. We got time to come down the wicket, step out, hit you out of the ground. But to keep the batsman at the crease, you got to get good shape on the ball and bowl it quickly. And that's what we did. We thought, right, that is what we're going to do. And somehow, I tell you what happened. That pitch in Mumbai, if Duncan Fletcher, we thank Duncan Fletcher every time I see him. I say, thank you for having a Ranji Trophy match just before the test match to produce a big turner for us, And if that never happened, I don't think I would have bowled that ball. Let's be honest. Let's be realistic here, right? That was a third day pitch on a first day wicket at Mumbai. And I was bowling to Sachin Tendulkar, managed to get him out. But if it was a first day fresh pitch, I think that ball probably been clipped into mid-wicket for 4.
I remember in 2011 meeting Graham Gooch. He was the assistant coach with the England team. And and right after beating India in the test series, and he said our main barrier would be to beat India in India. So that planning had started there itself in 2011, that we were going to go and do well in India in 2012. So, I mean, can you tell us about those days? I mean, how Indian team was in 2011 and what you're seeing right now? So a lot of planning goes into these kind of preparation, this kind of series. So
yeah, a lot of planning does go into it. We were playing against, some of the spinners, you had Pranga Ojha, who's a great spinner, good bowler, but I think he's not good as Ravindra Jadeja. I think Ravindra Jadeja is a better spinner. Harbhajan Singh, I don't know. I think he was past his best. I remember watching him bowl. He would get that ball to bounce, off a length, and it wasn't bouncing like it used to, and some of the other players, I think there was a bit of an aging Indian team which we came into play. But I think the biggest factor was Mumbai. Let's be honest. That was a turning point, right, where Duncan Fletcher felt that, our spinners would bowl better than the English spinners on a turning pitch. And that's something to probably bear in mind, when the Chennai matches happen. Do we produce a flat one and back our spinners over the English spinners, And this time around, they've got Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson to worry about. And if I was the Indian coach right now, Ravi Shastri, I would say I would not have a blade of grass on the Chennai wicket.
So, but I mean, the best finger spinner right now in world cricket, according to Monty Panesar.
Look, I've got to say, I've got to have 3. I've got to say it's Ashwin, Jadeja, and Nathan Lyon. I think them 3 are brilliant. Like Jadeja, on Sydney, Australian wickets, picking up key wickets. Ashwin is phenomenal in how he bowls, varies his pace. Same line, changes the angle of the pace. And Nathan Lyon, to be successful on these pitches, I've bowled in Australia, and I know when you get it wrong, you get hit for big sixes. When you get it right, yeah, you got a chance. and he's picked up 400 Test wickets, and he's been brilliant. So I think them three are my best.
Why do you put Jadeja in that list? He's someone who's really struggled in shorter formats of the game. Not a regular. He's more of a batting all-rounder these days in World Cricket.
But if you look at his Test record, he's averaging 26. He's taken 200 Test wickets. It's Shane Warne, Muralitharan, and Jadeja when it comes to the best averages. He's understated. I think he's been brilliant. His bowling, he gets that zip off the pitch, gets good shape on it. Strong. He has a nice strong action, very fit, dynamic cricketer. I think he's kind of like the shadow behind sort of Ashwin. Ashwin is the brains. I remember Ashwin saying, spin bowling is like an app. It needs to be updated every 6 months. So he's always coming up with new tricks and strategies, and that's why I love watching Ashwin bowl.
But England, they also have that Mr. Dom Bass, who's doing the duties, in Sri Lanka. So how is the England spin department right now? I mean,
well, this is a great question you've asked me. Yeah, because the first Test match was a bit of an underprepared pitch at Galle, and you can see that the English spinners got a few wickets. Short and wide, it kind of sits in the pitch and you miss the ball. But this is now a traditional Galle pitch, flat. First day, second day probably start breaking up, and then it'll start turning very quickly. So, if India, let's say, India's best chance to win or put England under pressure is to actually expose the English spinners on a flat pitch, because I don't think they're as good as the Indian spinners, right? And all India need to do is just not give any wickets away to Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, because you look here, they've taken three for 20 of 20 overs. In the first innings, Jimmy Anderson done it. So has Stuart Broad in the first Test. They're going to be the biggest threats, because they know how to take wickets on subcontinent pitches.
Jimmy is amazing. I mean, isn't it? I mean, at this age, and going there and staying there for such a long period and still moves the ball so accurately. I mean, what a gift to cricket, isn't it?
Well, it's a gift, but it's his desire. It's his own desire. He looks even fitter now than he was, 4 or 5 years ago. And he wants to play in the Ashes in Australia. He wants to go to India. He wants to prove that he can get Virat Kohli out on Indian pitches. That would be another sort of, tick in the box for him. The best batsman in the world, and Jimmy Anderson got him out on Indian pitch. I think that drives him. He has huge desire to still be successful. And I think the biggest goal for him is going to be in Australia. Can he repeat the same success in 2011 when Andy Flower and Andrew Strauss were managing the team and we won in Australia? He would love to win in Australia and do what India have done to Australia a couple of weeks ago.
And we are forgetting Jofra Archer. My God, he's also going to give us a lot of excitement, isn't it?
Absolutely. In the IPL, there were times when he was bowling to, and it's only a 24-mile game. When he gets it right, he's quick, he's fast, he's an impact bowler, and I expect him to, definitely play. I think that first Test match, it'll probably be, either Stuart Broad or Jimmy Anderson, or even both of them playing. But at the minute, I think England are going with a rotation policy with both of them, and they need that quick bowler to rough up the sort of Indian batsmen. But these Indian batsmen, they're not scared of pace. You have Mitchell Starc, you have Pat Cummins bowling quick. You look at Pujara, he set up that innings in the Brisbane Test match, taking the blows, getting hit on the head. But they love it. I think these Indian players love it when it's fast, it's intense cricket. It gets the best out of them. So, it'll be an interesting series. It could go either one way or the other. It could be an exciting series, or India could just completely dominate England.
And of course, what was really striking about India's performance, everyone came up. Even an Ashwin, even Hanuma Vihari with a ligament tear, went out there and stayed there. That gumption, that desire to, as you said, you talked about Anderson's desire to take wickets. Indian batsman has really come of age after this series, isn't it? They have become
Yeah, it's that when you're on the field, right? I remember when I was playing against some great coaches, and I'll be on the field and not bowling well, and I look on the dressing room and I think, oh, the coach is looking at me thinking, stay on the field, show some fight, show some guts, so then I'll pick you for the next test, I'll pick you in the squad. So there comes a time, like today, Mark Wood was a great example. He was shrugging his shoulders, thinking that, oh, I don't fancy these conditions. But then he upped his game. He thought, no, when conditions are not in your favor, show your character, and many times there were opportunities for these Indian players to show their character. And there's Ravi Shastri. I can see he probably has his teapot pose, thinking, stay there, take the bouncers, get out is a good position. And I think his presence has changed, that dressing room and changed the attitude of these Indian cricketers.
He's India's go-to man. Always been like this. I remember in 2007 we were knocked out of the World Cup. This was in the West Indies, and they had to sack Greg Chappell after the World Cup debacle, and they went back to Ravi Shastri, and Ravi Shastri was loving his commentary those days. He was there on a temporary basis, took the team to Bangladesh, and that's how the transition happened. The youngsters coming in, but we have really good bench strength in Indian cricket. I mean, this is something we should really feel proud about. The way players moved out of the playing, only two players played all the 4 test matches, Pujara and Rahane. And everyone, no other player played 4 test matches in Australia. The bench strength is really good, which is what really makes us proud, isn't it?
Well, with any success of any team, it takes a few years, right? And it's a appointment of having the right people in the right places. I think the BCCI are benefiting hugely on Saraf Ganguly being the president. There is so much to say about ex-international players to be in administration roles. He knows what is it like, when he was 18, 19, how to be groom talent, how to, become a successful player. And you can see in the IPL, especially this year, every player, there's a youngster coming through. I can name in every team, there's a youngster that's ready to play Test cricket or ready to play ODI cricket for India. This is how strong they are. And that's why, you look at the likes of Shubman Gill. He's only scored 500. He's only scored 500 first-class runs. He's only got 100. He's got no experience in first-class cricket. But yet, you see him, he scored 91, and you think, oh, he must have had a great season. Like in England, first-class runs. But he's not, he doesn't have the same level of temperament or the same level of presence at the crease like Shubman Gill. Why is that? Because of the intensity of the IPL. You've got to go out there, play fearless cricket. You're getting a 90 miles per hour ball short coming at your head. You got to whack it out of the ground. That's how you got to play your cricket. It's the intensity of the IPL that is accelerating the growth of these young Indian players.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, Saurav Ganguly, he's also been attending all the selection meetings whenever the selectors sit together, pick the team, and he's made it a point that no one is treated unfairly. No one is, you can't push a senior out because he's not scoring. That's why Shikhar Dhawan is still there in the shorter formats of the game. You can't push a talent like Rishabh Pant, and that's why he was still playing in the ODI cricket despite putting on weight. He worked hard, came back, and what a knock he played in at Gabba.
Oh, that was a brilliant knock, right? Like, one thing, actually, I was watching the IPL in the UK because we were getting so bored of the lockdown. We're like, we can't wait for the IPL, and everyone's just glued onto their screens. And first thing I saw Rishabh Pant, I thought, what? I said, I think you've had me a lot of, loving your Indian food during the lockdown, and he transformed that. And you can see, in his exercise videos, he can do these flips. He's got this, great core strength. And I loved the way he approaches the game. He is like a Gilchrist type of player, and he can take the game away. And it's getting the best out of him. He needs to play attacking cricket. He's not a cricketer who's just gonna, he's not like a Pujare or a Hanuman, Rahari, where they just sort of, soak up the balls and take the swing out of the game, out of the bowlers. He's there to play attacking cricket, and we saw the best of him. And I think, you look at Rohit Sharma as another example. He got injured playing after a few, halfway through the IPL. His fitness levels weren't great. He knew that. He's thinking, look at Virat Kohli. You know, why is the best batsman in the world? Because his attitude to fitness, to diet. It's not just about the skill level; it's everything, the commitment. And this is what they're demanding. You know, that's why Virat Kohli should be the captain, because he's a role model to the generation, to the next generation, in terms of fitness, in terms of skill level, dedication. This is the way you got to play the game. You know, so you know, I'm a big fan of Virat Kohli still being captain of the Indian team in all formats.
You know, fitness is a key thing, of course, and fitness is evolving every other day. But what happens to skill set? Even there were, I mean, 20, 30 years, there was no cricketers were unheard of, you know, going to the gym and working out. These days it happened. But isn't it more focus should be there on the skill set rather than on the fitness? We tend to get carried away. This cricketer is looking fit, he should play. But what about, I mean, someone like Cheteshwar Pujara? He's not someone like Virat Kohli, but he has a character of his own. And look at the way he played in Australia.
Look, absolutely, I agree with you. Look, there's a lot to say, you know, for a batsman to occupy the crease, right, and bat for 100, 150 overs, and you know, you may not score the glamorous runs, but look at Hanuman Vihari, that 19, that 20 that he scored. That's you know, that's the most valuable runs, you know, he scored, you know, in his life, when he was half, you know, injured, but he saved a test match. So, you know, it's so important, right, that the old-fashioned type of cricketers, the skill of Test cricket is still promoted in India, and it's not just about, you know, IPL and T20 cricket. Yeah, you know, India probably the first nation where they're beginning to think if you have a good IPL season, you can go straight into Test cricket, which I think can happen. But India need to keep winning away from England, you know. Away from India. Away victories will keep the heartbeat of Test cricket. India, you know, still producing, you know, 5-day tests going in India is important as well. You know, India keep producing great Test matches. I think, you know, they will keep Test cricket alive across the world.
And the India-Australia recently concluded series is going to really boost this format of the game also in the days to come.
Absolutely, you know, that's what we need, because, you know, India dominates cricket. You know, they dominate the style of cricket they play. If it was another team in that position, I think apart from New Zealand, probably would have gone for the run chase. But I think even England, you know, other teams, they would have drawn that test match. They were afraid to lose the wickets. But India, they weren't. They're like, no, we don't care about losing. We want to win. And if we lose a test match, it doesn't matter. We'd rather go for the win. And it comes from the IPL. It comes from that fearless attacking, you know, approach. You don't have choice.
Yeah, I missed it. You don't have a choice. We missed that part. You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice but to play fearless cricket.
Yeah, and there was nothing from the dressing room that came on the 5th day in Brisbane. They just were told to go and play their natural game. And look at the way they played. It was brilliant. But coming to the India-England series, so 2 test matches will be played in Chennai. So do you think it will impact the nature of the series in any way? Because every center has a sort of you know, conditions which really adds to the uncertainty of the game. But here we are playing in Chennai 2 matches, then again going back to Ahmedabad because of these testing times. So how do you see that happening? That test series panning out?
Well, I think England have got the perfect preparations right now in Galle. You know, they're only 45 minutes an hour away from Chennai, so the conditions are going to be very, you know, not going to be too similar to what they're playing in Sri Lanka, and possibly the wicket will turn a bit more with the red soil. But you know, they've been exposed to the turning pitches, you know, in Sri Lanka. So this will be, you know, if England can turn over India in the first Test match, that would be something that I think I'll be celebrating in England.
But do they have that sort of strength? I mean, England, do they have that depth? I know there are a lot of senior cricketers, good, you know, and with Joe Root batted in Galle, he got that double 100. His tempo, his confidence level will be right up there. But do you think up against India in Chennai, that's what Ravi Shastri used to say. We start a home series against England and Australia, throw them in Chennai to start with, and then see what happens.
Well, Well, um, oh gosh, Ravi Shastri, man, he's a character, isn't he? So, what I think he's absolutely right. You know, it's alien conditions, right? Because the ball turns, it turns aggressive in Chennai, right? And for me, I think England just don't really have the batting to play against the turning pitch. That is England's biggest weakness. You know, if you look at the top four, Johnny Bairstow is being rested. He's probably a better player of spin in Chennai than some of the other batsmen. You know, and I think they should have rested someone else. Like Dominic Sibley, he's not really. He's leaving balls. You look at a pitch on a turning pitch. He's playing. He's leaving the ball, and he's not really sure if he's turning or not. His foot movements doesn't really look like he's able to adapt on turning pitches. And I think that's where India will probably have the upper hand. If they can get Joe Root out early, I think England. I think India will have the upper hand because in India it's all about batting for at least 100 to 120 overs in the first inning. If you can do that, you're in the game. You're in the game. But if they get Joe Root out early, then I think India are in the game.
Yeah, but how good are the openers for England?
Yeah, they're good against seam. They're good against fast bowling. Joe. I think Rory Burns will be back. I think that left-right combination will work well. But they're still young players. Zach Crawley's a young player. If you look at that top four. There's only Joe Root, really, and then you got Joss Butler who goes back after the first test match. Ben Stokes will come back in, who hasn't played cricket, and could be exposed to turning pitches straight away. So there's a huge onus on again Joe Root to bat. Need to bat well in one of the innings. And maybe one of the younger batters, there's Dan Lawrence, young batter. They've got to play just fearless attacking cricket. They've got to use the mentality of what Shubman Gill's been doing in Australia on Indian pitches. Do not fear the spinners. Go and just attack. And you never know. That's the way to play the game. I think in India for these young batsmen.
The way it's said in every cricket playing nation. If you want to do well, if you're an Indian cricketer, you have to do well outside India. Now that we have won so brilliantly in Australia, do you think this same team, same bunch of boys doing well in England, South Africa, New Zealand in days to come, the SENA countries?
Are you talking about the Indian batsman?
Indian team.
Yeah, look, the thing is, right, like I said before, right, India to become a great test team, to put this team in the brackets of the West Indies, of the great Australian team under Steve Waugh, they need to win away. The away victories is where they would be, to be honest, to be really marked. That's where they will be, that's when they're, like the BCI selectors or the Ravi Shastri would get their pen and paper and think, right, this is where, boys, I want you guys to, we need the away victories, and in India, I look, their record is second to none. I can't see England win the series. Let's be honest, that'd be phenomenal. But I think India will be really strong. But there'll be times where we see exciting cricket. But that would probably shake up everyone if England win in India.
I remember 2011 we won the World Cup, and a few months later we went to England and lost the Test series, and everyone was wondering what happens there. This is the beauty of the game. You can never feel you're invincible. Every day you have to go out there and prove your worth. You can't just relax and sit back and think. Sit back on your laurels and what you've done in Australia. You still have to go out there every single day and perform for your country. That's the beauty.
Yeah. Absolutely, because that's why this test series is going to be good, because both teams have strong set of seamers, have probably the batting and the spin department is probably slightly stronger for India, but there could be, Jofra Archer could just blow away, or Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, their experience and they know what they're doing in on any surfaces, that they could blow away. They could blow away, the Indian top order. And then suddenly, we've got an exciting test match going on. So it's so unpredictable that both sets of teams have vast skills in certain areas that you just don't know what kind of excitement, we will be produced in the next four test matches in India. But I bet as cricket fans, you would be tuning in, especially the first two test matches, because if India win the first two, they're guaranteed a spot in the World Championship final.
Absolutely. And talking about guaranteeing, I can see you'll become a very good, presenter and sports broadcaster. The way you talk about the game so passionately, and not only cricket, you're also taken up the cause of Indian farmers in little way in UK. Tell us about that. What makes you get involved? I know you have a lot of connect with India. A lot of relatives are here back home, but how you feel strongly. A lot of people want to be politically right. They don't want to stay away from controversy. But you are one cricketer who's always given that stance to the world that yes, if there is something to be spoken about, I'll talk about it. And tell me what prompted you.
Yeah, because at the moment I'm studying a master's in international sports journalism. So, because I've always been a university graduate, I went to Loughborough University, did a BSc in computing and management. So the way my program, you always do research, you always, objectively think about things and then critically evaluate them as well. So I put out a tweet. I said, what if the government don't guarantee the MSP, which is a minimum price for the crops for the farmers? Where do they take their crops? I just put a question out. I never thought I would have over 2 million impressions on my Twitter, right? And then I started to add a bit more. And next thing I know, the viewing figures were going through the roof. Everyone's just like, I think they like my approach to a topic, to a debate, because I'm going to evaluate it. I will critically evaluate something. I won't just say something without facts or research. So when I put everything into context, it kind of makes sense for people. I think in India, people are smarter than you give them. They know a lot about their cricket and about their politics and about everything. And if something makes sense, they obviously retweet it and they keep sort of, hashtagging it. And I remember another poll. I put out a poll. I said, who's a better prime minister, Boris Johnson or Modi? And that got the Indian fans firing up. Gosh, they all woke up. Doesn't matter what the time of the day was, and everyone was voting for Modi. I got like 96% Modi and 3%, 4% Boris Johnson. And eventually, I thought I've got to delete the tweet because it makes me look bad because I'm born in England and Boris Johnson is my prime minister. So a lot of the Indian fans were asking me, Monty, why did you delete? I said, well, I got my answer. That's what it was. I got my answer that if I put out any poll to do with Modi or anything like that, the Indian fans let me know. But also they're very passionate. I can tell that, my social media, I've got a strong fan base in India. And we go back to the farmers. It's an interesting point. I think they've had 7 or 8 rounds of the meetings. They're talking about the farmers. Tractors protest on the 26th of January. They're going to go, towards Parliament. And I think I've heard that Narendra Modi is going to put on hold for the next 18 months, with the 3 laws. And I think we are forgetting is that Modi is trying to help the grassroots farmers here, right? But the grassroots farmers don't trust Modi because he did wrong. He should have had a meeting with all the 40 union members. He said, come to Delhi, let's sit down. This is what I want to do. You should have had, and he used autocratic approach. It wasn't democratic. The BJP government saying we are a democratic government. We listen to all the members and all the unions, but they used autocratic. Modi just said, these are the bills and this is it. It's gone through Parliament. We're signing it off. And then what ends up happening, he has to go through Supreme Court because he knows that he used the autocratic approach. He didn't get all the union members in like you do in England. You speak to everyone, get everyone's views, and then you agree to the laws. And that's where the BJP government got it wrong. And next time around, I think they're going to do an 18 months. That's what I've heard. And if that's the case, I think when they want to pass these bills over, they'll probably will sit down with the unions, have dialogue with them, and then come to an agreement. And if Modi did that, I don't think we would have had these protests in the first place.
Wow, you're so well versed with what is happening back home, which is why Shubhajit is one of our viewers is saying that it's some exciting stuff ahead, Monty, for you with your masters, and you'll do well because you have your logic, your sense. You carry a lot of sense when you talk. When you bowled, also you carried a lot of guile as a spinner. The arm ball, especially. Thanks a lot for coming on SK Live. It was a pleasure chatting with you, as always, and knowing your views on the game. Keep safe. And England, of course, is still testing times around. Stay safe, and good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Very soon. Thank you. Thank you.